Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Return of the Obra Dinn, which today we are playing on a Zenith ZVM 1240, which, like many of the monochrome monitors that this game uses as options, was made somewhere in the mid-80s. It is quite a cool thing that back in the day when only monochrome monitors were really a thing, you could do whatever like base colour you liked for them, and so there ended up being such this variety of it. But it does remind me as well of when you could put Game Boy games in Game Boy Advanced consoles, and then when you started them up, you could press different button combinations to determine what the base colour was, because the original Game Boy, I think, didn't have colour. Of course it didn't. The sequel was called the Game Boy Color, that's a good clue. But there you go. There's cool stuff about monitors. Quite neat. Something was pointed out to me in the comments of the last video that I wanted to make sure to correct. And it's also a good opportunity for me to sort of clarify what I do and do not want in the comments. This is something I do want. So here on this page, I missed something when I was doing this. I didn't pay enough attention to the actual page, and I didn't realize that there are two people on this page. This isn't two pictures of the same person. These are two separate people, both presumably killed at the same time by a single event. So I think this is the guy that was blasted by the cannon, and this guy was crushed by the cannon. We unlocked his corpse, we didn't look at the death, but I think if we do, we will find that it actually happens at the exact same time. Like, the audio is the same, and then it just goes to the same scene, but we're facing him, that sort of thing. So I think that I actually got this the wrong way around. So mistakes like that, where I, like, just basically misclick something, like, misunderstand how the book works, and things like that, by all means correct me on those, because I have the death right, I just put it on, and I have the person right, and it was the guy with the hat, but I accidentally clicked on the wrong guy and put it on him. So correct me if that sort of thing happens and you spot it. But this is a good time to mention, not to spoil anything. If you get ahead of the game relative to where I am, don't in the comments tell me like the right answers, because I do want to work it out for myself. I'm sure you were probably already going to be doing that anyway, but it's worth saying just in case. So this is the guy that was shot with a cannon by the beast. So there we go, and then this guy we're going to reset to unknown. There we go. So that's that right way around now, because I know it was the guy with the hat that was struck by the cannon. So here we can see the image specifically of him, and that's why it confuses me that there will be two deaths on one page, but apparently so. Like if we click on this guy, and I guess we'll just oh hey, he's in the first memory. That can't be right, surely? If he appears in the first memory, then he can't have died here, so why is he in the book here? It says Perished in the Doom, Part 4. That's strange. Is that a glitch, or am I... It only says one memory. So why does it list two? I think this is a glitch. That doesn't seem right. Like, let's have a look at this guy. One memory. Yeah, he's got the first memory listed. He shouldn't have the first memory listed. He definitely wasn't there. He's missing a head earlier in the process. Okay, I think that's an error, so we're going to ignore that and hope that it is an error, or maybe there's something very confusing going on here. Okay. Close the book for now. Now, I was going to carry on investigating the little murder scuffle thing that happened over there, but I need to work out what exactly is going on with this. I need to get to the bottom of what's going on with these two people on one page, so I'm going to look at this death first. Oh god. Oh dear. Okay. So this was actually earlier then, which makes it even more confusing. Perhaps I missed a second person that died earlier on? Maybe that body was two people. It seems that they were loading the cannon, it was all going well, and then the Kraken just straight up reached in and took hold of the cannon. But is this a different area of the ship, or am I confused? Oh, this section of wall is a section of wall. In a moment, that gets smashed straight through, but it appears that it's this guy that died, and then there's also these two here? This is a little bit confusing. Is this the guy with the top hat? No, that's that guy. That guy appears on that page. Okay, I'm gonna have to take more of a look at this scene. Guess this is part 3 of the Doom. And this is a different death. Okay. So they died, I guess, crushed, it seemed like. I guess it's by a cannon rather than... No, it's not a loose cannon. Okay, it clarifies when you actually select it. In that case, I'm going to say crushed by the beast. Okay. That's the door. And there's no new corpses, so it seems like this particular trail goes cold, even though there's 2 more steps to this particular story. That's interesting. So let me just have a quick wander around, see if there's anything interesting. There's the door. Somewhere in that direction, I think, is where Martin is. We have these 2 people here. And yeah, this guy's been, I guess, crushed by the beast. It's not a loose cannon. Over here, we've got some people firing a cannon. So far, so good with these guys. There's the guy with the tattoos slightly earlier in the process. There's somebody here. Of course, because this is early in the Doom now, we've got a lot more people living in the scene. So let me just check the book. 6 others were present. So let me just count. 1, 2... 3, 4, 5, 6. See, everyone's alive here. It's only this guy here that's dead. Let's take a closer look at the people we have here and see if we can work them out. Right, so that's the guy with the top hat. So he's... Oh dear, he's stuck to the front of the cannon. So it must have been lit already. Yep, the fuse is lit, it looks like. And so what happens in a moment is... that's why they shout the fuse. They realize it's lit. While this guy's stuck to the front of it. And then the cannon goes off, this guy flies backwards in a mist of blood, the cannon shoots backwards through this wall. Probably disrupts them firing this thing. And so that these 2 guys are both dead. But then did this guy die at the same time? I mean, he's in the same position. If the cannon goes off while he's still there, then he was actually in that same death, but I just didn't realize because of how much of a mess they were. Ah. And there's the hat. An extra clue, in case you weren't sure. Let me just have another check of this one, because I think that is the guy in the book. Yeah, that must be the guy in the book. If we go to the next page, yep, that's him. That's that guy. So I think he was blasted by the cannon, but let's go back to the scene and get another look at that and make sure that he was there. A quick look at these guys. I think these are just present in the next scenes. Is he one of the ones that makes it to the end of the thing? Because one of the people with the guns is one of the ones who breaks into the captain's cabin. I think he might be. And this guy, some random guy at the back of Underway. This guy, let me check this one again. Oh, who is he? Guy playing cards. Dangerous place to be seated there. Okay, I'm going to open the page for this guy. Yep, knifed by the captain. So he was the second one through the door after the first mate, I think it was. Yep, the first mate and him were the attackers at the start. And then someone, I think it might have even been this guy. Yes, this guy, who's currently in this fight, was clubbed afterwards. So those are the 3 guys that were in the attack. Don't know their names yet, of course. Right, so that's what this guy's up to at this stage of the story. Okay, let's leave. I'm going to take a look at that cannon shot another time. And see if I did miss that they were both actually killed at the same time. It seems like they were. So you can actually have 2 deaths at once. Like, I only see the 1 corpse. There's nothing else around. So it is strange. And if I identify this... it doesn't let me. Perhaps because he's missing his head. Huh. Well, let's take a look. Right. So now we know who that is. Okay. So those horrible sounds at the start were that guy getting crushed. But I see 1 body here. This one, and then is there someone in this that I'm not seeing? Was one of them simply eviscerated? Let me identify this one. The guy with the hat. Where is the other one? Is he crushed underneath? Maybe there's actually 2 people under here. No, I think this is the guy that was initially crushed. So yeah, the cannon comes blasting backwards through here, knocking all these guys out the way. I think I've spotted this guy before. He's presumably still alive. Yep, cards guy. I think he dies later. Again, if I actually see him die. So where is the other one? Is he simply missed? There's the hat. It's definitely indicating to us this is the guy with the hat. Does the other guy go overboard? That would seem unlikely, but... it's the best answer I've got right now, because he kind of got far. He was right there. He must have been pulled out. There was a tentacle around him in the scene before. I think I need to listen to this one more time, and listen very closely to what sounds that guy makes. So let's do this one more time. And just listen. I don't know. I'm gonna leave again. I'm gonna take another look at this one because this will show me if... I think he had a tentacle wrapped around him. No, he didn't. They were coming in, but they hadn't actually got hold of him. They had hold of this guy. This one just vanishes. I don't understand it. I don't know where he goes. Perhaps he simply goes to pieces. I don't know. Alright, I think we're gonna have to leave this one for now and maybe consult the book and see if that has any clues. Okay, the book. So, part 4. Who is this? How did they die? That is the question. 4 others were present. Including this guy. Oh, but it shows everyone involved, living and dead. With that guy bookmarked, seems like. Did I do that? 2 memories. But one of them's the first memory. We know that's not a thing. But that means he doesn't appear in the Doom Part 3, and he does. Maybe that's the thing that the Doom Part 3 is listing as the first memory for some reason. The memory's on the deck map. These 2. Oh yeah, it doesn't show it there. So, these 2 memories. Part 3, Part 4. So it's displaying them right, it's just not naming them right. You've really... I don't know if I'm missing something, or whether there's actually some sort of error here. Because maybe there was a splash that I missed and he fell overboard. Or maybe I wasn't quite listening right and he got pulled overboard. let me check one more thing, because there is... that's the only text we have. Everything else was just sounds. We'll leave that one for now and try and come back to it later, and perhaps we can work it out. Perhaps unknown means is an option. Perhaps missing in action is an option. Maybe because it's impossible to know, that counts? Hard to say. Now, I do remember I spotted in one of the scenes, looking back, that we actually had a door over here open in one of them. And it looks like it's opened. So what is back here? A body. We have another avenue to follow now. I wonder if this is a continuation of the Doom, or whether this is another branch we can take. I wonder if I can open this on the other side. Nope, it's locked either way. We don't need that door anyway. Alright, this one's nothing but bones now. So I like that all the damage is on the left side of the ship, because you pull up on the right and it just looks like a perfectly fine, completely intact ship. And then as soon as you get inside, you're like, oh, the entire left side's had holes put in it, had bits torn off, has bodies hanging out of it. Let's take a look. Well then, we caught this guy at an unfortunate moment, and so did the Kraken. He seemed to be getting some relief there. Be careful where we stand. But I wonder if this is the first part of the Doom, because there's no sound yet. There's no, like, stormy sounds, there's no yelling, there's just this guy. I really wish there was something to drown him out. But let's try and identify him. Oh. Aha! It's the artist. I was wondering what would happen when we looked at the artist as to how he would appear on the sketch. We can look through here and see what everyone's up to. The guy here hears the sound, and perhaps some other people around on the gun deck. Everyone's asleep. Interesting. So yes, this must be like the first or maybe second death of the Doom. Quite a few people to look at here. On the bow. This is part 2 of the Doom, so someone else died first. And, well, this sort of gives it away. Honestly, I think it would have been better if it didn't highlight the signature and you just didn't know who it was. And so, like, you went through the entire crew, and at the end of it, you're like, well, hang on, I've got everyone on the crew pictures. Who's left? Oh, the artist. But no, they've decided to make it easy. At least I think they have. Presumably, ES is the artist. Yep. Edward Spratt. Also, why is there unknown as number 19? A few of these are unknown. Is this because they've appeared in a scene, but shouldn't be identifiable yet? That seems a little bit weird to me. Or is unknown I've already assigned a name? That could be it. Anyone that I've already done. In that case, is Abigail not on the list anymore? Seems like it. Okay, so unknown is what happens when you cross someone off the list and assign the name to somebody. That's a nice way of narrowing it down. It's a little bit easier to work out who you have and haven't looked at yet. Okay, so yes, this is Edward Spratt, artist from England. Was crushed, I think? Probably crushed. Very common death right now. Unless it was strangled. I'll go with crushed for now, but then I'll have a closer look. Because maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. It wasn't around the neck. It was around the torso, so it's probably that it was crushed. And, oh. That's interesting. So there is another death here. But who could it be? Because this seemed to be the first event. but actually we can go onto the deck. And it looks like maybe up on the top deck, people were slightly more aware of what was going on. They'd spotted it. And someone had already died. Well then. Yep, that's the guy. Just in case we weren't sure, let's bring him back. I should have spent some time looking around the scene before I came back with him. Well, let's let it appear. Oh, where are you off to? Here we go. So you were the first one to be killed by the Kraken. And so even though everyone downstairs was still asleep and just going about their business, that had already happened on the top deck, and the people on the top deck had noticed. Unfortunately, word hadn't got to our poor artist on the bow. Now, we're gonna have to listen to this again, I realise, so I really should have, like, got full use of that, that scene and while I was there. And okay, well, we're gonna have to do this again. Just gonna skip and ignore. Let's go. Let's leave him behind. Who are you? Oh dear. It looks like you're one of the people watching. Oh dear. It doesn't get quieter as you get further away, and this is upsetting. Okay, we're up to the part where he's just being murdered. It does sound a bit like strangling, actually. But it's not around the neck, which I think might be what strangling counts as, but maybe because he was suffocated through crushing it counts? We'll have to see when we have 3 properly laid out and see if it's quite right or if we need to edit it slightly. So this guy, let's have another look at him. Have we seen him before? I don't think we have. Maybe we have. He does look a bit familiar. He is perhaps the cook. What he's doing suggests that, so that's something to bear in mind. Anyone asleep here? No, it doesn't look like it. A fancy sword you got there. And then we've got 2 people asleep here. Oh, they've got labels on them. 44, and there's actually text. I can actually kind of read that. I wonder if that's lorem ipsum. What does that say? The end says minim venium. Is that in lorem ipsum? Quite impressive that even in this style I can actually kind of read. Tempor ti ut labor et dolor. Yeah, I think that's lorem ipsum. Okay. Well, that's not important then. Can we identify this guy in his bed? Doesn't seem like it. Not letting us. How about this one? We've got a leg. Can we identify the leg? No, I guess we have to be able to see the face. I guess there'll be 2 people that are involved in the gunfight on this deck later. Maybe they run up to the top, I'd say. Oh, you know what we can do? We can check the ship. So on the gun deck, oh, it doesn't say. It doesn't label who sleeps here. Because it does have quite a few labels for, like, people's quarters, but that isn't anything. So we can't derive anything from that as to who these people are. Because you can narrow down to people's roles by looking at exactly where they're sleeping or spending their time. But let's have a look at these people. Who are you? We've seen you before. Do you get killed later? I mean, everyone gets killed later, but do you get killed later in a scene that I've seen yet? I've definitely spotted you before, looking away from the shooting for whatever reason. And then this guy here. Him, our strange missing man, the one that disappears as that cannon is fired. Maybe because the cannon is fired, hard to say. Then we've got these 2 people here. That looks to be Martin, and this... Perhaps, cook's mate, or is there only one cook? I forget. Seems like it could be one of the passengers. Let's take a look. Well, it seems like he's perhaps relatively high-ranking or an important passenger because he's standing with the officers. Or perhaps he is an officer. But he doesn't have the standard uniform. He's got an interesting lined shirt. He's carrying some food, looks like. And then this must be Martin, surely. Yes, that's Martin. So he wanders off this way, they go off in that direction, and then later on Martin's going to come running back. Having heard all the commotion. Somebody sleeping here. Somebody sleeping here. Can't work out who these are. Okay. Let me just check. 13 others were present. Oh, of course, we've got the top deck to work through yet. So we've got 1, 2... I might count the sleeping people, it's hard to say. I think, though, they don't count as actually present people. Oh, these have all got numbers. That's actually... Wait. Are these actually, like, crew numbers? Like, out of 60? Because that would definitely be interesting. Oh, that's X, though. Why X? 10? That's supposed to be 10, then? Why would you do that? They've all got a number tied to them. And they're all in, like, the 40s and 50s. We check the crew manifest. There we are. 40s and 50s. What are we looking at there? Top man. I don't know what that specifically means. And seaman. So yeah, it's all the people that will be in that area, I think. I don't really know the roles, but then there's something we can do about that if we go back to... Oh, I've done things. No, I haven't done things. Okay, escape. Back to... Here, we can go to the glossary. I realize this is a glossary, not an index. I can learn stuff here. So, a top man, a higher rated seaman specializing in work above the deck in the sails and rigging. A seaman, a low-level crew member responsible for general manual labor on below deck. Midshipman is officer in training, assists various officers and tradesmen in order to learn ship operations, usually a privileged status. So that could be the guy that was walking with Martin then. Oh, steward. Servant to an officer or higher rated crew member performing general duties for the comfort of their employer. Maybe that's what that guy walking with Martin is doing. Could be the steward. Oh, there's the helmsman. Rated seaman in control of the ship's wheel and general moment-to-moment navigation. Yeah, I think we've got that one covered. Let's look at the gun deck, the one we're currently on. The deck carrying the ship's guns and lined with portals for their firing. Check gunner, military officer in charge of weapons and military procedures on the ship. Okay, we'll look into some more of those later. Let's save some for the future. So yeah, I think this guy over here could be perhaps a steward. And he's carrying Martin's food for him, that sort of thing. So, crew manifest. Do we have a steward on board? Presumably we do, otherwise it wouldn't be in the glossary. Aha! Ship steward, captain steward, first mate, second mate, third and fourth mate stewards. So I think that guy might be... I think third mate is what Martin is, so that might be Roderick Anderson. We can't be quite sure yet. It seems likely, though. Okay. So we'll keep a mental note of that. In fact, no, I'm gonna write that down. What are we in? Because here's the thing, it's been suggested to me by many people to keep a physical notebook, and I don't deny that that's probably necessary. So, the scene we're currently in, what are we in right now? We're in Doom Part 2. Doom Part 2. Martin Stewart. Question mark. There we go. So I can come back to this later when I know a little bit more and see if that's the only clue I have for identifying that particular person. So, let's have a look up on the top deck and see what these people are up to. Who are you? Haven't seen you before, so I wonder what happens to you. You must die at a later date. That's the thing, all the people here, this is the 7th chapter. There's only 2 between this and the end when there are only 4 people living aboard the ship. But I keep finding people that I know live through the Doom at least, so what on earth happens in those other 2 chapters? This guy looks new as well. I don't think I've seen him before. And this guy... I have seen him, so he's involved in the fight. I forget if he dies. This guy here... That's one we haven't seen? I don't think we've seen his corpse around then, so what happens to that? Does it get pulled up into the air and flung off by the Kraken? Okay, so let's take a head count here. 1, 2, 3. No one else above deck. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down the end. So then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's including the sleeping people, and that's everyone accounted for. We know who they all are. Well, we know where they all are. Who is still very much in question. Okay, let's go take a look at this guy's death. So I guess to do that we have to leave through the door. Where's the door? I think it's downstairs where Martin was. I think we've got everything we can out of this scene, so we never have to come back and listen to that again. There we go. Okay. Let's go up and have a look at that death up on the top deck. The first death in the Doom. So it looks like he was just on guard, walking about, and the Kraken just, I don't know, broke his neck, strangled him or something. Let's find out.
Let me on. Over my dead body, you bloody Dane. Huh? How's that?
There's no cause for trouble, boys. Get in the boat.
Huh? Thought I'd forget. You killed my brother. What? That was an accident. The ropes.
It wasn't his fault. I saw the whole thing.
Lies. I shouldn't have waited so long.
No, don't.
Well, this is entirely different from what I thought then. That was a lot of information we just got, and actually, yeah, that explains a ton of stuff, because, okay, so this guy was stopping these guys getting onto the boat. These guys were leaving. So, this guy got killed trying to stop them from leaving. He previously accidentally killed this guy's brother with ropes. And then there was a couple of other things that were said, I think, that might be important. It's hard to keep track of it all. This guy's clutching, I think, a book. Or a case? Multiple books. And the 3 of them are all leaving to get on that boat. And I know what happens to that boat. The Kraken tips the whole thing up, and these guys presumably drown. There is one other possibility, though. Location of the corpse, 3 others were present, the ones who went on the boat. Died, I think it was a club, wasn't it? It looked like a club. Let's have another look at this again. So, useful. Nationality. That narrows it down a lot. So, no cause for trouble. Don't forget, brother, it's mostly... It wasn't his fault I saw the whole thing. I bet that's important. So we need to identify the sources of each of these voices. X seems to be... Oh, this guy was trying to leave as well. I got it wrong way round. X marks the person that was killed in the scene. This guy was trying to leave with the 3 of them. But this guy decided that that wasn't happening and killed him despite the protesting of the other 2 on board. One of them was a witness to the death of this guy's brother. That might come in handy later on. It'll surely come in handy later on to identify exactly who that person that then died to the Kraken on that boat is. Yeah, they all had different voices, so I think that's one I'm going to have to listen to a couple times to work out exactly who is who in that. And maybe narrow down accents and nationalities and things. So this person, let's have a look at this, because he said, over my dead body, you bloody Dane. So he's Danish, right? I think that's the only, it must be. So, Lars Linde from Denmark, is that the only person? Yes, it is. So it's gotta be him. There's a small chance it isn't, and maybe the guy's a racist who doesn't care about specific countries, but I'm gonna assume that when he calls someone a Dane, it's because they are from Denmark. So we're gonna select that. And then he was clubbed. We don't know who by. What we do know is that this is a guy with a brother. So one thing we can do, I'm going to click on this but then select unknown at the end of this because I can't be sure of it, but if that guy's brother was killed, they'll have the same surname. That's going to be a difficult one to look through, but perhaps they've got the same rank and so they're right next to each other. That's the hope. Let's go to the bottom because it seems like they might have just been low-ranking people. But at a glance, I'm not seeing any two people next to each other that have the same name. But I bet if I spent a little bit of time looking through this, I would find two guys with the same surname, and then we would know. We'd narrow it down to two people as to who killed this guy. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of looking through, I think. And I'll perhaps save that for another time. And by the way, I noticed there is a Henry Brennan, so he must have been present at the murder that happens in that earlier chapter, or later chapter. And also there is a Peter or Pete somewhere. There we go, Peter Milroy. So I think Peter Milroy is one of those two people that is dead on the ground in that other scene. So there we go. So this is Lars Linde, and they were clubbed, I think. We don't know who by. So we're going to have to look into that a little bit more. But that definitely helps. Now I noticed one of the people getting on that boat was clutching a bunch of books. Another thing I've noticed, let's flick to the front of the page and look back at the crew manifest again. I noticed that one of the names listed on this manifest is Henry Evans. So that means that Henry Evans is the guy, like he was the one who signed that book. The book, this journal, he signed this journal. So he must have survived. So perhaps he got on that boat and it was tipped over, but he lived and made it to shore. Or perhaps he sent the book with someone else. It's hard to say. So perhaps he's involved in this scene, or perhaps he comes in a little bit later on, perhaps at the escape. Another thing I've noticed is that there's actually very few Scottish people, which massively narrows down who was attending to the guy that died in that particular scene. So the first mate is Scottish, so that we already know what happens to him. That's fine. But if we flip down, so Duncan McKay, the purser, is Scottish, and Abigail Scottish. That's not a problem. Already dealt with. And then Timothy, what does that say? Butament is also from Scotland, and I think that's it. Yes, there are only two Scottish people. So it's between those two people as to who attended to that guy who died. So that's a good clue as well. You've got to use the nationalities as a clue. They've been very carefully chosen, and the accents carefully chosen, to make that a whole other element. Like, it looks like there's only one guy from France, so you've got to identify the French accent, and that's the only way probably that you're going to be able to work out who is that guy that I just saw. Who is Charles Minor. So there we go. So we now have, I think, the complete set of scenes for the Doom. Got a quick look through. So yes, we have the guy that's killed as these three try and escape. And then the artist killed by the Kraken. And then the mishap with the guns gets this guy crushed. And then both of these guys shot. I've got to assume that the other guy died in the same way. And that's why he's on the same page. But I'm going to leave it for now. Either way, I don't know his name. Then a loose cannon crashes into this guy. Then up on the top deck, in attempting to kill the thing, this guy gets blown up. Then this guy gets torn in half, and Abigail gets smashed in the face, and then, presumably, the beast recedes and leaves them because nobody else dies, or perhaps they just retreat below decks so no one else can get hurt. I was just saying, that's the thing, you're going to miss huge gaps in the timeline because nobody dies during them. You've got to try and infer what happened there. Presumably, it stopped, but we don't know what happens in, oh, hello, Conclusion of the Doom. There's 2 pages of that. Chapter 8, The Bargain, is one we don't know about until we complete things. So we don't know what bargain is made that, I don't know, gets rid of the Kraken or is made after the Kraken's gone. Like happens in the lazarette, whatever that is. And then we get to escape. And then we have a couple things happen, and then this guy dies. And this is actually the 6th death in the escape. I assumed it was the 3rd, but I guess some other things were happening in other parts of the ship then. We get to the end. Does the end of a conclusion section? No. So the conclusion comes... Well, there's one for escape. Some chapters have conclusions, others don't, I suppose. And yeah, we don't have a... I was expecting for a second that maybe we were actually getting another dead person, but no, this is the first death of this event, so presumably there's no other corpses just lying around. That could change, though. Let's take a look at these people. Who are you? Did we do this already? No. So, hang on, let's have a look again. This must be underway. And then this guy here looks a bit like Leonard Nimoy, I feel like. Have we seen him anywhere else? I assume not, because that would be weird. Yeah, of course we can't have, because he's about to leave in a boat and get killed by the Kraken, and this is the earliest scene that we've got to so far. We're slowly working our way back through the history of this ship. That is, I think, all there is to see here. Look at this guy, actually. So he was next to the game in underway, and this guy, yeah, just some random guy over, say, by one of the ones with the top hats. Okay. And we open the book again. I've already done this bit, though. I just got that out of the way straight away. Oh no, this is the part where it tells me about, and what does that mean? Disappearances. Okay. 7 wayward souls disappeared during the events of this chapter. Their fates are catalogued here. And we have all these people. Finley Dalton met an unknown fate. Well, I know what happened to him, so let's label it. Well, I suppose I don't know the specifics, though. So what are the options? Fell? Could be... that wouldn't be right. Expired? What does that mean? Electrocuted, eaten. Could be eaten. Could be drowned. Hard to say. He's definitely dead. He's surely dead. But I don't know for sure. I'm gonna say... drowned by the beast? And see if that works. As for... I guess we can do it for all the people that got on the boat. If I can work out who they are. Where did this guy appear again? I've already forgotten. And of course it's not showing it, like, I can't look at his information because it doesn't go into detail for him. I'll have to go back and look at the scene that I found him in, which I think was scene 2. He was up on the deck. So what on earth would have happened to him there? Okay, I think I'm going to leave it for now because this episode is getting awfully long. But there we go, we've got all of the storm seen. We're definitely behind on working out who is who, what happened to them, especially with all these missing ones. That's I thought I was doing okay, and then suddenly it's like, here's 7 more people that you gotta work out. Oh dear. Alright, well let's leave that there then. Let's close the book for now. We've got more scenes to look through. I guess next episode we'll get back to looking at the escape. And seeing what happened to those 2 people lying dead just out in the middle of the gun deck. After some sort of fight or something. Maybe one of them is called Pete, it seems like it. And someone who's alive in that scene is called Brennan. So there we go. And we'll leave it where we started. Let's just say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.